$12 million seized. 47 arrested across 3 states. FBI ICEA exposed a Minneapolis hub.
Tonight, federal agents have shattered what investigators are calling the most sophisticated narcotics distribution network ever operated on American soil by a Somali organized crime cartel. Over $12 million in narcotics seized. 47 arrests across 3 states. And evidence that points to a criminal empire that turned entire neighborhoods into drug pipelines stretching from East Africa to the heartland of America. 3:12 a.m. North Minneapolis, Minnesota. February frost clung to boarded windows and chain-link fences. Steam rose from sewer grates along Penn Avenue, twisting under yellow streetlights that cast the empty road in sickly amber. The temperature sat at 11 degrees, the kind of cold that makes breath freeze before it leaves your lungs. Then the silence detonated. Tactical vehicles from FBI, IC, DEA, and Minneapolis Metro SWAT converged on 4 locations simultaneously. Flashbangs shattered windows at a 2-story duplex on the 1800 block. Battering rams tore through reinforced doors at a warehouse near the Mississippi riverfront. Agents flooded inside wearing night vision and ballistic shields, voices cutting through darkness like blades. Federal agents, get down now. Inside the duplex, what they found would trigger the largest multi-agency drug seizure in Minnesota history. 42 kilograms of pure fentanyl stacked in vacuum-sealed bricks behind a false wall in the basement. Street value, $4.3 million. Enough to kill 14 million people. The powder sat in industrial freezer units, temperature-controlled, labeled with handwritten codes in Somali and Arabic. Next to the fentanyl sat 28 kilograms of methamphetamine, crystalline and pharmaceutical grade. Beside that, 15 kilograms of heroin in heat-sealed bags marked with a Crimson Lion insignia. But investigators weren't finished. In a back bedroom, forensic agents discovered something that changed everything. 3 laptops connected to encrypted satellite internet, ledgers written in layered code, and a Nokia burner phone that hadn't been wiped. On that phone were text chains between Minneapolis, Columbus, Seattle, and Mogadishu. Messages detailing shipment routes, buyer networks, and names of compromised officials who looked the other way. If you want to see how deep this goes, hit like right now. By 4:47 a.m., the operation had expanded to 6 additional locations. Agents breached a halal grocery store in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood where a hidden room behind industrial refrigerators contained another 60 kilograms of narcotics. They hit a used car dealership in St. Paul where the service bay concealed a money-counting operation processing $300,000 in cash weekly. They stormed an apartment complex in Bloomington where investigators found distribution kits, cutting agents, and hydraulic presses used to red brick powdered fentanyl into counterfeit prescription pills stamped to look like Percocet and Xanax. The scale was staggering, but what agents uncovered in the digital evidence made the drug seizures look like a surface wound on something far more malignant. Cyber forensic analysts with the FBI's cyber action team cracked the encrypted servers within 6 hours. What they found inside wasn't just a drug network. It was a fully operational transnational criminal enterprise with financial infrastructure that rivaled legitimate corporations. Shell companies registered in Delaware and Nevada. Offshore accounts in Dubai and Nairobi. Wire transfers routed through hawalas, informal money transfer systems that left no electronic footprint in traditional banking. The cartel operated under a name that had circulated in intelligence reports for 3 years but had never been fully penetrated: Al-Shabaab-linked economic network, or ASLAN. Though not directly controlled by the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab, investigators believe the cartel funneled a percentage of profits back to militant groups in Somalia in exchange for protection, smuggling routes, and access to heroin processing labs near the Kenyan border. This wasn't just drug dealing. This was terrorism financing hidden inside the opioid crisis. One DEA official said it plainly: "We were watching Americans die by the thousands while funding flowed back to groups that want to destroy us." Within 72 hours, the investigation revealed a distribution network that reached into 14 states. Minneapolis was the command hub. From there, couriers moved product to Columbus, Ohio, where secondary sell distributed to the Midwest and East Coast. Seattle served as the Pacific entry point for heroin and methamphetamine smuggled through Vancouver and then transported south by vehicle. The cartel used rideshare drivers, refugees with clean records who didn't know what they were carrying, and even Somali community members coerced through family threats back in East Africa. But the worst was yet to come. On the decrypted servers, agents found communications between cartel leadership and 3 individuals who made investigators' blood run cold. A logistics coordinator at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, a deputy sheriff in Hennepin County, and a caseworker with the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program. Comment compromised if you're ready to see who sold us out. The airport coordinator had been on the cartel payroll for 2 years. His job was simple: flag specific inbound cargo shipments as cleared and ensure they bypass secondary inspection. Narcotics were hidden inside shipments labeled as medical supplies, food products, and religious materials destined for Somali community centers. In exchange, he received $12,000 per month, wired to a relative's account in Nairobi. The deputy sheriff provided intelligence, patrol routes, scheduled enforcement sweeps, the locations of undercover stings. He received $8,000 per month and protection for a brother involved in an unrelated assault case. When federal agents arrested him at his home in Maple Grove, they found $73,000 in cash hidden in a gun safe. His wife and 2 children watched from a hallway as agents cuffed him and read him his rights. The caseworker was the most devastating. She had access to refugee resettlement files, background checks, travel histories. She identified vulnerable individuals, newly arrived Somali refugees, often young men with limited English and no family connections, and flagged them to cartel recruiters. These individuals were then coerced into working as couriers, runners, and low-level distributors under threat of deportation or violence against relatives still in Somalia. Investigators believe she facilitated the recruitment of at least 31 individuals over a 4-year period. She received $6,000 per recruitment, paid in cash during meetings at a coffee shop in the Midtown Global Market. Type betrayed if you want to see who betrayed the system that was supposed to protect people. By February 19th, 72 hours after the initial raids, federal prosecutors had charged 47 individuals. The charges included conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, money laundering, racketeering, immigration fraud, and material support to foreign terrorist organizations. The lead defendant, identified as 39-year-old Abdi Hassan Yusuf, faced life in prison without parole. Yusuf had entered the United States as a refugee in 2003, obtained citizenship in 2011, and by 2016 had built the largest Somali criminal network ever prosecuted on American soil. Investigators tracked his rise through intercepted communications, financial records, and informant testimony. Yusuf operated from a house in the Seward neighborhood, modest from the outside, equipped with bulletproof glass and reinforced doors inside. He maintained a public profile as a community leader and small business owner. He donated to mosques. He sponsored youth soccer teams. He attended city council meetings and spoke about refugee integration. Behind that facade, he controlled a network that moved over 200 kilograms of narcotics per month and generated an estimated $40 million annually. Then everything shattered open. On March 4th, DEA and FBI tactical teams executed coordinated raids in Minneapolis, Columbus, and Seattle. At 5:32 a.m., agents breached Yusuf's residence. He was asleep in a second-floor bedroom. They found him with a loaded Glock 19 on the nightstand and $37,000 in cash inside a leather duffel bag under the bed. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He was cuffed, walked out in a gray t-shirt and sweatpants, and placed in the back of an unmarked SUV. In Columbus, agents arrested the regional distribution coordinator outside a gas station where he was meeting a courier. They seized his vehicle, a black Chevy Suburban with hidden compartments in the wheel wells containing 11 kilograms of fentanyl. In Seattle, the raid was more violent. Cartel enforcers barricaded themselves inside a house in the Rainier Valley neighborhood and opened fire on federal agents. The firefight lasted 9 minutes. Officers returned fire. 1 suspect was killed. 2 were wounded. 3 surrendered. An IC agent suffered a gunshot wound to the shoulder and survived after emergency surgery at Harborview Medical Center. Across all 3 cities, agents seized a combined total of 192 kilograms of narcotics, 14 firearms, over $900,000 in cash, and digital evidence that will take prosecutors months to unpack. Hit subscribe so you see what happens next. The trial began in federal court 7 months later. Prosecutors presented a case that spanned 4 weeks and included testimony from over 60 witnesses. DEA chemists detailed the purity and lethality of the seized fentanyl. Financial analysts traced wire transfers from Minneapolis to offshore accounts controlled by Yusuf and his inner circle. Homeland Security investigators testified about the infiltration of refugee programs and exploitation of vulnerable immigrants. But the most powerful testimony came from victims. A mother from St. Paul whose 19-year-old son died from fentanyl poisoning after taking what he thought was a Percocet for back pain. The pill contained 3 milligrams of pure fentanyl. He was dead within 90 minutes. She stood at the witness stand, voice shaking, and said, "They didn't just sell drugs. They sold death. And they hid it in our neighborhoods, in our stores, in places we thought were safe." A former courier testified under immunity. He described how recruiters threatened his family in Mogadishu if he didn't cooperate. He was 17 when they forced him to drive packages from Minneapolis to Chicago. He didn't know what was inside. He was told not to ask. He did it for 9 months before he was arrested during a traffic stop and agreed to become an informant. An FBI agent who led the investigation testified about the scope of the network and the sophistication of its operations. He said, "This wasn't a street gang. This was a multinational criminal enterprise with business plans, distribution logistics, and corruption networks. They operated like a corporation, and they poisoned communities for profit." On November 12th, the jury returned guilty verdicts on all counts. Abdi Hassan Yusuf was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His top lieutenants received sentences ranging from 25 to 40 years. The corrupt officials, the airport coordinator, the deputy sheriff, the caseworker, were sentenced separately. The airport coordinator received 18 years. The deputy sheriff received 22 years and forfeiture of his pension. The caseworker received 15 years and was permanently barred from federal employment. But the case didn't end with sentencing. Federal investigators continue to pursue leads connecting Aslan to other networks across the country. ICE has expanded surveillance of smuggling routes through Canada and along the southern border. The FBI has embedded agents in Somali community organizations to identify recruitment tactics and cut off cartel influence. The DEA has partnered with Interpol and Somali federal authorities to dismantle supply chains at their source, targeting heroin labs and fentanyl precursor shipments from China through East Africa. Share this so people understand how deep betrayal can go. This story is a fictional dramatization, but the threat it represents is devastatingly real. Transnational criminal organizations exploit immigration systems, corrupt officials, and vulnerable communities every day. They hide behind legitimate businesses and cultural institutions. They weaponize trust and exploit desperation. And they turn American streets into markets for poison that generates billions in profit while destroying millions of lives. Power doesn't always need violence. Sometimes it only needs silence, indifference, a refusal to ask hard questions or confront uncomfortable truths. The cartels count on that. They count on communities looking away. They count on systems too slow, too fractured, too compromised to stop them. But when investigators refuse to look away, when agencies coordinate, when communities cooperate instead of protecting criminals hiding among them, these networks collapse. They collapse hard, and the people who built them face the full weight of justice. The question is, will we catch them before it's too late? Comment awake below. Tap like so more people see this story.